Hey there, horror fiends, and welcome to a Christmas episode of TV Terrors. So, horror fiends, Christmas time is upon us, and for you horror fans, that means you get to watch a plethora of Killer Santa movies that have been pretty much made all the way since the 1980s, pretty much starting with Christmas Evil in 1980. Actually, you can go a little further in 1972's Tales from the Crypt with the All Through the House thing. But anyways, there is a lot, a fucking lot of Killer Santa movies out there, and even TV episodes involving Killer Santa. But did you know, dear horror fiends, that the Japanese actually made their own Killer Santa movie, or in this case TV episode as well? Yes, Japan got in on the Killer Santa craze as well, and that was part of Kazuo Umezu's horror theater. Back in the mid-2000s, Japan had their own answer to the American TV anthology show Masters of Horror. They decided to do their own version, having a famous Japanese horror director direct each episode. But their version, every episode was going to be based off of a short story from famous horror manga artist Kazuo Umezu. If you don't know who Kazuo Umezu is, in Japan he is a legendary horror manga artist and storyteller behind Drifting Classroom, 14, and a collection of other really gruesome, terrifying, anti-establishment, anti-society messaged horror mangas from the 70s and 80s. So, in the mid-2000s, they made Kazuo Umezu's Horror Theater, which each episode that was directed by a famous Japanese horror director and based off of a classic Kazuo Umezu short story. And they had their very own Christmas episode, which was called Kazuo Umezu's The Present, which is Japan's answer to the Killer Santa craze. And boy, is this sucker actually pretty fun, pretty gruesome, and pretty fucking awesome. Kazuo Umezu's Present opens with a young Japanese girl named Yoko who decides to spend Christmas Eve partying with her friends at a very lonely and very colorful hotel on Christmas Eve. Because of their drunken debaucheries and their sinful nature, as you can see that it's already turning into a typical slasher film, they're actually visited by the one only Santa Claus and killed in gruesome ways and hunted down left and right until Yoko finally admits to her wrongdoings and begs Santa Claus for forgiveness. But is this all is Santa Claus really killing everybody in gruesome ways, or is this actually all in Yoko's head? It's up for debate at the end. Oh my god, now where to start with this awesome little killer Santa gem from Japan, of all places? Actually makes the whole thing feel as if it is a lost segment of the popular horror anthology Creepshow, with the various red, blues, and green colored lighting throughout the whole segment, especially during horror scenes, almost like Creepshow back in the early 80s. Not to mention that, there's these eerie establishing shots and a lot of different shots establishing the very lonely, atmospheric, colored lighting location of it all. Again, much like Creepshow. Not only is the atmosphere feels like it's right out of Creepshow, but also the funnest part about this thing is the graphic and fun death scenes that Santa Claus bestows upon the rowdy group of Japanese partygoers. First of all, Santa Claus actually uses a really cool weapon in this movie. He actually uses a bladed star on a chain that he whips around and lops people's legs off. Believe me, this sucker is fun and gruesome. You get bodies chopped in half with guts hanging out, arms and legs lopped off from the bladed star on a chain. You get stabbings in the back of the head. You get fingernails slowly ripped off. You get mutilated, bloodied, maggot-ridden corpses laid about, almost like a Lucio Fulci movie. And even there's a particularly gruesome scene where Santa Claus pulls out a girl's brains and feeds the brains to his reindeer in graphic close-up, much like a Lucio Fulci movie. Until finally it gets to the end, and it even ends with a gruesome scene of Yoko even digging into the back of her head and pulling out brains and maggots too, leading to an ending that really boggles the mind and leaves it up to an ambiguous interpretation, which I really like. So guys, seek out Kazuo Umezu's Horror Theater box set, which is packed with all the rest of the episodes from the mid-2000s Japanese horror anthology show. Seek that out. And also while we're at it, seek out the horror manga works of Kazuo Umezu. I know a lot of fans talk about Junji Ito when it comes to famous horror manga storytellers, and believe me, Junji Ito is almost a legend, but seek out Kazuo Umezu also. He has some really gruesome stories, particularly Drifting Classroom, which is a very strong anti-establishment and anti-authority story, loaded with just a lot of dead children, which is pretty fucked up, but that's a constant theme in Kazuo Umezu stories. By the way, seek out Kazuo Umezu's Horror Theater and definitely put on The Present, because if you guys want a really fun, gruesome as hell, almost creep show like Killer Santa movie that sets itself a bit different from all the other Killer Santa movies out there, seek out The Present. It's fucking awesome, and it really is a Yuletide gem.